We are calling back to order the Committee on Finance, Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion to continue hearing ordinance number 156, 2025 by Councilmember Griffin by departmental request to make appropriations and provide current expenses for the daily operation of all municipal departments of the city of Cleveland for the fiscal year of January 1st, 2025 until December 31st, 2025. All right, we're going to have a statement from the finance director, and then we'll jump into office of the mayor. I'm going to have our team, Brooke, if you could please read office of the mayor. Yes, please. Do you have a mic? Oh,
Yes.
Awesome, great.
Page 52, Office of the Mayor, Mayor Justin M. Bibb. Page 53, 2024 unaudited, $2,342,628. 2025 budgeted, $2,854,615. Page 54, total expenditures 2024 unaudited, $3,329,748. 2025 budgeted, $4,080,119. And number of employees, December 2024, 20, budgeted 2025, 27, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you so much. Okay, Director, you've got the floor.
All right, thank you, Mr. Chair. So real quickly, I'll run through the Finance Director's statement. Just want to make a few highlights. I'll be brief. I know everybody wants to dive into the numbers. First of all, I want to thank the Mayor and Council for the opportunity to be here to represent the budget and the divisions across the city. It truly is a team effort to put together an annual budget. Also want to thank my team, the entire finance team, especially the office of our budget office, which did a fantastic job, and Nicole Gallagher heading up that effort. So this budget will be the third consecutive structurally balanced budget, which means that revenues exceed or match expenditures. And this year's budget totals $2.12 billion, with $805.7 million of that towards expenditures in the general fund and $806.7 in revenues. Overall growth in general fund revenues is about 3% this year, headed by income taxes that grew at about that rate and account for about 60% of the city's revenues. Of note also is the rainy day fund, up to $67 million, close to our statutory limit of $78 million. And important to continue to grow this rainy day fund. We continue to face headwinds as we were planning this budget. So as mentioned earlier during the mayor's address, we used realistic but somewhat conservative estimates for our revenues to make sure that we were budgeting responsibly and transparently. And these include not only the possible bills at the federal level, the freezing of grants, which has since been rescinded, but still something that we're looking at. But the city also faces the population decline, inflation, which has gone down from about 9% in 2022 to about 3 to 4% now, which is still above the Fed's 2% target. So we still continue to watch that. And again, the uncertainty from the federal government and what will happen next. This year we did. There was a drop in unemployment across the city, which is good, which since has ticked up a bit. We started the year at about 4.3% and ended the year close to 3%. So positive development 2024. Biggest gains were in education and healthcare. And of note, also in 2024, we were able to fully allocate the $511 million in ARPA funds, which means not $1 has to go back to the U.S. Treasury. The finance department also hosted 6 events this year to engage the public, and I want to continue, obviously, credit to my predecessor. I want to continue that, that pattern in the upcoming year and upcoming budgets. Input from the citizens is incredibly important, as it is from council. And the budget book this year is going to look very familiar from what you've seen in previous years. I do, however, invite any kind of feedback for over the next year, things that you all would like to see, and I think we touched on some of that during the retreat, which is very helpful. And looking forward to meeting with each of you throughout the year and seeing how we can make the budget process better and improve on what we've got. So with that, I'll turn it over if we want to start diving into the numbers, unless there's questions.
On this financial statement or the mayor's office? Yep, go ahead, Councilman Spencer.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I know you want to keep us moving, but just on the statement, on the final statement that you made, Director, one of the things I know that council has asked for repeatedly is to have a column for 2024 budget for all departments. Is that doable in future budget books, or is there a reason why not? Because I know we've asked about that in prior years as well.
Yeah,
Through the chair.
So through the chair to the councilwoman, you're requesting the 2024 budget in addition to the unaudited numbers that we give you? Okay. Unfortunately, it's not included in this book, but it's something that I will note, and, you know, we will look to incorporate in the future.
That would be great. I know that several members have asked for that in prior years as well, so thank you so much.
Yeah, and I'll just echo the councilwoman's comments. That's been a request for a long time. Challenge there is if you can't have budget to budget from last year, it's very difficult to understand apples to apples. So we've put that, I know you're brand new, Director, but we have put that request into the city for a long time. So Councilwoman, maybe we put that in the ordinance next year requiring it. Maybe we take that approach because it's been requested and hasn't happened. So, okay. Councilman Plemsik on the Finance Director's statement.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I do have questions for the mayor's office, but I'll hold off and put me down on that for mayor's
Yep,
office.
I've got you.
This is, Mr. Chairman, to my honorable colleagues, to the director. This is your first budget hearing, correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. The thing I wanted to stress to you is this. We all like to hear good news at this table. I don't know if there's anyone who doesn't like to hear good news. It's human nature. But what I wanted to say to you, what's important as you go through these next 2 weeks, approximately 2 weeks, is that what you tell us and what you give us is the straight truth at the table. Because we can always disagree, we can always have difference of opinion, but one of the pits of quicksand that I have witnessed over the years is where directors get fast and loose or don't give us the direct information. Because, you know, we can always, again, we can disagree, but we can disagree and still be agreeable. So what's important for you going forward, and that's why I wanted to say this as we're getting out of the gate, is that you just give us the straight, honest information. Because we were told some things last year that didn't pan out, that were not correct. And some of that came up with when the mayor's letter transmittal this morning, when we were repeatedly told, with regard to police overtime, where, you know, the figure they gave us, we disputed it pretty vigorously at the table, and we were told, no, that's the overtime figure. And then the overtime was double. And we were also told that as a result of 12-hour shifts, that the overall overtime costs would be reduced, and we know that they weren't. So nobody has a crystal ball. We don't know, again, as has been said this morning, what's going to happen in Washington or Columbus. But going forward, I just want you to be aware that give us as accurate an explanation as possible. That's the way you keep your credibility. That's the way you create, that's the lubricant between the council and the administration. That's what works. And so I have questions from the mayor's office, but I'll leave it at that as it pertains to the general fund budget. Give us the facts and nothing but the facts. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Councilman. Okay, Director, Mayor's Office.
Okay. We're open to questions.
So
Okay.
looking at the budget as it stands today, we see an increase. There are 3 in special assistant to the mayor, 1 in Yep, that's it. The 3 in the special assistant to the mayor. Can you explain those changes?
Sure. So through the chair to the committee, those 3 changes, 2 of them are actually already current headcount. So we have 1 receptionist up in the mayor's office that's on a temp contract that we're looking to actually move into the mayor's budget. So that's 1 position. The second is a senior strategist for arts, culture, and creative economy that's currently being funded by a grant. This person has done an exceptional job and want to bring them on to the mayor's office as a full-time employee. And then the third is also due to other grant-funded individual that we're looking to bring on full-time.
What's that grant-funded individual?
So this is for, these are for positions that are currently funded by external partners. It's to maintain current functions that are currently being performed by part-time employees that are here not on a regular basis. And there's been a lowering of part-time in order to add a full-time position.
Okay, so the first individual is a support staff person that's funded through our temp contract. Okay, second is I'm familiar with that. So second is the arts was that a 2-year grant, 1-year grant? What was the term? I'm just trying to get an
To
understanding.
the chair of the council person, I think it was a 2-year grant, but
Okay.
it's ending.
Okay, so the 2-year grant initially to seed that position is now rolling into the general fund. And then the third one, tell me again what,
So the third one is a position that's currently funded by external partners. We don't have a person actually assigned to this yet, but it's reserved and not to increase their head count, but to maintain current functions that are being performed by part-timers. And
so is that, so that person, is that position vacant or?
that's a new position.
It's vacant. It's vacant.
It's vacant. Vacant, yes.
Right.
Okay, I'm sorry. So it is a position that currently exists at the city that is funded by external partners?
Yes, it's a combination of some part-time positions that we had in the mayor's office. Those part-time positions are being eliminated, and then we're adding a full-time position to take over that functionality.
And where is the elimination of the part-time positions in the budget? Or were those temp or?
So we had 4, right, last year?
Yeah, but the book only has one in it.
Why does the book only have 1?
Because we're going to do a green sheet.
Okay.
To the chair, the book actually last year's budget had 4 part-times. This book only has 1, so we're going to have to green sheet this. The approved budget actually had 4. I just noticed that we only had 1 in here, but if you
Okay.
look at last year's
I
budget.
see. So the
was
part-time, so there were 4 2024 part-time positions in the
Green
mayor's
sheet then.
office. You're saying those are being eliminated to create 1 full-time?
Through the chair to the committee, 3 of them are being eliminated.
I'm sorry. So, okay.
Yeah.
3 eliminated, and then the responsibilities of those 3 individuals will be put into 1 full-time position?
To the chair, that's correct.
Okay. Okay. All right. Okay. Councilman Mike Polensek.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, my honorable colleagues to the director. On page 53, under contractual services, the dollar amount for the anticipated budget for 2025 for professional services has doubled since 2023. I would ask for some broader information. It doesn't happen right now. Some broader information as what that is encompassing. Again, that's under professional services. On page on page 54, Mr. Chairman, under employees, staffing levels, could we have who are the 19 special assistants to the mayor? I request their names, who they are. And then, are there any employees from any other department or division, including enterprise accounts, are anyone from those departments or divisions assigned to the mayor's office that are being paid for from those
So-
respective divisions or departments?
On the first request, do you have a list of those folks?
So, to the chair, the first request was about professional services.
Right.
I do have a response to that.
Okay, go ahead.
That's for videography and production. So the mayor has ramped up communication across the city. And that's, that funding, extra funding has been used for mayor's newsletters, media communications, facility usage fees related to neighborhoods and resident events. So
Okay.
that specifically is what that for.
Okay.
What
And
that's
obviously
for.
you'll supply that to us in writing. Okay.
Yeah, and you know, through the chair, the 19 names, I actually have a list in front of me.
Great.
so
Clerk, can we get a copy
Yeah.
of these, this
Yeah.
piece of, to distribute to
Okay.
council members? If
So,
you've got it in front of you.
Again, is there any other department or division, including enterprise accounts, that are assigned to the mayor's office and being paid for by those departments and divisions, et cetera?
Want me to do this one?
So through the chair to the councilman, I don't have the specific names in front of me, but the answer is yes.
Okay.
There are some positions that are being funded from other divisions.
And I would respectfully request those as well, and who they are.
Yeah, through the chair to the councilman. We can get you that, but it's basically the chiefs that cluster those. So like Bonnie T1 has, the airports, utilities, the responsibility, along with public works. So her salary is split. I believe when you talk about utilities and airports, that might be the only one, but we can get you a
Yeah, so I'm
comprehensive
I'm
list.
just trying to figure out, so that's not,
She's not
because that
charged
wouldn't be
utilities.
reflected on page 54, correct? Those would be in addition to the staffing levels you have on 54.
Through the chair, that's correct.
Okay, so I would request that respectfully, Mr. Chairman, if we could get that. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Councilman Polensek. Councilman Brian Casey.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, to the director, the increase in salary, full-time permanent, is quite a lot. Were there any additional raises that were given to anybody in the mayor's office aside from bringing on the 3 new people?
Through the chair to the councilperson, we'll have to get you the information. I don't think so, but we will definitely get the information
So,
for you.
Mr. Chairman,
We had just one other thing, Councilman. I just
Okay.
wanted to add, there was a couple of vacancies throughout the year. So this increase encompasses moving 3 part-time to full-time, as well as a few vacancies during the year.
right, so Mr. Chairman, to the director, Mr. Gentile, with all due respect, okay, if this is the way that we're going to start off, if this is the way it's going to go, where you're going to have to continuously get us information that you're not going to know at the table, we're going by the book that you presented, okay? We're already starting off with, we need to get a green sheet, and you don't have the green sheet. I'm hearing that the numbers for employees throughout the whole book are going to be off. I don't know if that's true or not. We're going to find out as we're going through, but already we're hearing that we got to get a green sheet, and you're not prepared with the green sheet. You're saying that the unaudited $500,000, is from employees that weren't there, or what close to it. The 6 vacancies. So, Mr. Chairman, to the director, where are the 6 vacancies at? If you're wanting to, and this is going to be a thing with me throughout the whole budget process, if you're not at staffing level that you were budgeted for in 2024, and you're coming to us not fully staffed, every department is going to have to explain why we're going to budget for more employees when you're not able to keep what you're budgeted for in 2024.
So through the chair to the councilman, I would like to note that there were 2 additional hires towards the 2024 headcount. Lucas Reeve is senior advisor to the mayor, and Mike Culp to assist with lobbying efforts. So we are working to fill all of those vacancies.
And then, Mr. Chairman, to the director, this vacant executive assistant to the mayor for $156,000, what is that role that's currently vacant? I mean, we know what Sarah Johnson does. We know what Marvin Owens does. Michelle Palmans, Ryan Puente. Who's vacant?
Through the chair to the councilperson, that is for strategic projects. So,
Mr. Chairman and Mr. Gentile, what's 2 strategic projects?
well, they're trying to get someone to help handle the East Side TIF and other projects that's going on.
Isn't that what Jessica Trevisano's doing?
Through the chair, the councilperson, she's doing several projects, but they're going to need some additional bandwidth for some of these additional projects.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
I gotta take a deep breath after this one. Wow. Good line of questioning, Councilman. I'll just keep on going down the line. Who else do we have on this one? Okay, so we on the mayor's office now?
Harsh has his hand up.
Oh, Harsh,
Hole punchers.
Councilman Harsh?
Chair, I might have missed this
So we in the office of the mayor now.
because I think I caught part of the answer, but this was number of employees as of December 2024 is listed as 20. What's the current number today? Is it still 20 or did somebody onboard already for 2025? I'm looking at page 54, comparison of staffing levels, number of employees December 2024 is 20. Is today, whatever today is, February, whatever, still 20 or did that change?
Through the chair to the councilman, it changed. Mike Culp was hired earlier this year.
So we're at 21 currently.
That's the right number, right?
Okay.
Yeah, correct.
That's all. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Do we
President.
have any other questions for Office of the Mayor, Councilwoman Jenny Spencer?
And thank you. And I know, okay, let me, on this point, through the chair, what is Mr. Polk's position? What is his function?
Through the chair to the councilwoman, he's a senior advisor to the mayor. He was formerly a lobbyist that worked externally, and we brought him in internally to assist in some of the challenges we're facing this year in terms of grants and, you know, the pension legislation and the possibility that tax exempt status will be taking off a bond. So he's heading up our lobbying efforts with the federal government and locally to help, you know, put our agenda forward.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
All right. Anybody else for the Office of the Mayor? Anybody else? Questions for Office of the Mayor? Any requests around Office of the Mayor, make sure that we give Miss Saban or Miss Odie Martins those follow-up requests. I do concur with Councilman Casey. We want everybody to come to the table prepared. This is, you know, this is a joke a little bit, but we'll have that conversation, okay? All right, anybody else? No, a joke. Yeah. No. But my goodness. So do we have that additional names from other department, Ms. Saban? Councilman Casey has a follow-up.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, to the director, did you just mention that you brought in lobbying in-house?
Yeah, through the chair, that's correct.
Well, we got one saying yes, we got one shaking his head no.
Through the chair, the councilperson, he's coordinating lobbying efforts, but we still have our external lobby contracts that we come to council with.
Mr. Chairman, is he one of the new special assistants to the mayor? And he used to work, if I'm correct, he used to not work for our lobbying firm? And now we're bringing him in-house? And which one of these vacancies is that position?
So through the chair to the councilman, he's not one of the new headcounts for 2025.
Didn't you just say he was?
Well, he was hired in 2025 The new.
He's one of the 19, right? One of the, from
Yes,
16 to 19?
yes, through the chair,
Right,
yes.
okay, yeah. Which vacant position is he? Is he at the low end of 56, or is he at the high end of,
He's,
at 156?
through the chair, he's the senior advisor to the mayor, so he's on the higher end.
He's the senior advisor. So we brought, Mr. Chairman, to the director, we brought our lobbyist who was working for a firm that we had contracted with, and we hired one of them to be a lobbyist in-house, correct? Am I correct?
Through the chair, the councilperson, yes, he worked for the lobbying firm that we were doing business with. He's now coordinating lobbying efforts for the city as a city employee. Right, correct.
Mr. Chairman, to Mr. Gentile, why do we need that? If we have a lobbying firm, why do we have to coordinate with the why do we have to pay $145,000 to somebody to coordinate with our lobbyists that we've already got under contract to lobby for us?
Yeah, through the chair to the councilman, we need this resource full-time. Like I said, there's an unprecedented amount of challenges we're meeting legislatively this year that we're facing as a city. And bringing someone with that expertise and those connections in-house assists us greatly in lobbying against those.
Okay, and then, Mr. Chairman, to the director, for bringing somebody with that expertise in-house, why would we need the lobbying firm then? Why do we need them both?
Yeah, through the chair to the councilman, again, because of the challenges, as many resources as we can get to put forth our agenda and make our arguments against these bills. We're talking about millions of dollars of effect if this legislation goes through, big detriment to the city. So having all the resources that we can have to make sure that we're properly lobbying against these issues, as well as anything else that comes up, is vital.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Director, I gotta just say this just for the record. I'm known to be pretty fiscally conservative, and when I see these kind of numbers, it gives me a lot of pause, and we're gonna have some serious conversations. If council's gonna be fiscally responsible, and especially in light of looking at some of the headways that's coming our way that the mayor mentioned this morning, then we may need to reduce some of these special assistants. I don't see any need of why we are just, they all get paid more than everybody over here, and this makes it tough for me to tell our staff or our team why we got a challenge with raising council people's salaries and everything else when I'm sitting here watching a mayor's budget that Councilman Casey talked about it earlier today that's probably has doubled in size. And nobody can really justify or tell us other than all of them have special projects that they're working on. And this is no slight to the, to anybody. It's just if we're going to do, we may need to amp up our budget if this is the way that we're going to go through this whole process, that everybody's going to just give wild increases and nobody can tell us why. So I have to go on record to say that I'm very, very discouraged by seeing some of this. And in the years that I've been here, I've never seen just the mayor's office just triple or double the way that it is. So we'll have that conversation during reconciliation, okay? Any other questions regarding the mayor's office? Seeing no other questions, we'll move on to city council and the clerk of council. Could somebody summon them?
Page 46, council and clerk of council. Blaine A. Griffin, council president. Patricia J. Britt, clerk of council. Page 48, salaries and wages, 2024 unaudited, $5,148,320. 2025 budgeted, $5,389,447. Page 49, total expenditures, 2024 unaudited, $8,701,324. 2025 budgeted, $9,341,334. Page 51, staffing, number of employees, December 2024, 60. Budgeted 2025, 73. Mr. Chairman.
Thank you so much. Clerk, come on up. Okay, so the only question I've got on here, there's a 2-person increase in part-time legislative assistant. Can we speak to what that is? So on page 51, everything is stable on numbers except part-time legislative assistant.
So, to the chair, good afternoon to council. Those two are not new. Those are 2 positions that we have. That's our interns for the council admin side.
Oh, those are interns. Okay, so those are different.
Well, we're going to use them we can use them as interns, but they were our legislative assistants that were part-time that we just kept those 2 positions in.
Green sheet here because it's showing 0.
So when you're saying 0,
So if you look at the page 51 to our CFO, it says budget 24 is 0, budget
so
25
that's at
2.
December. So at December, we didn't have any interns.
No, I'm sorry. I'm looking at budget 24. It's showing 0. December and budget of 24 is showing 0.
So last year, the way they had it, I think it's the way they had it laid out last year because we've always had those 2. That was Sandy Franklin and John James's position. So those positions have always been there.
Okay, but do we know, because in 2024, So did we not, so those were two positions that existed and then we didn't budget for them in 24 and then we're re-adding them?
We budgeted for them in '24. I would have to look at the actual budget book for '24 to see how they were listed, but we had them we had those positions in our budget in '24.
Okay, because it's showing as two new positions. That's why I'm confused here. So total head count in 25 is 73, and 24 was 71. So we're seeing a net increase of two positions.
The net increase of two positions, the one was an increase to the summer intern, because we had 8. We had originally said 8. And then one for, we had one admin staff that we were going to add.
And those, I guess, so those are under legislative assistant then, or?
So they're both under legislative assistant because that's our catch-all title.
Okay. So what, okay, so John James was the chief or director of research.
That's what he was when he was a full-time staff
Right,
member.
and so then that's obviously has a new person in it. So then the two new positions are,
One was a summer, we had bumped up our summer interns to 9. And then we also had an admin staff,
And-
legislative assistant admin staff.
and is that position filled or we're going to
That
be?
position is not filled yet, no.
And what is going to be the role of that position? Do we know?
So originally it was slated to be help for the admin services. That's what it was originally slated to be.
Okay, and but we don't know what it's going to be now, or?
Well, we still have it for that, but if I need to change it, I can.
Okay. Yep.
Thank you. Yeah, this is, we were able to briefly touch on that, I recall, during our budget retreat, and there was some really good discussion about staffing and about where there were some capacity gaps. So I'm not opposed to providing funding for personnel. I do still have a question about whether that's the position that's needed and should be filled.
Well, and this is a part-time position, is what I'm looking, so it looks like our head count for full is the same.
No.
So page 51, part-time, 2 legislative assistants, is what I'm seeing. Whereas full-time appears to be stable count from budget to budget.
So if you look under full-time, that one goes up 1 under legislative assistant.
Nope, it doesn't. I'm looking at
You're looking
full-time.
at, I'm looking at budget.
Yep, budget 24, full-time legislative assistant 6.
Right.
Yeah, 25, 6.
I'll have to go back and check with OBM because that's where that one was put.
Okay, so it looks like we need
It
to
was
green
put
sheet
there.
this.
And then
for sure.
those 2 legislative assistants were prior.
Okay. All right, we're gonna have to make some changes here, it appears. Okay, let me take a look at it. All right, and then Madam Clerk, are there any other items that you would draw our attention to in this budget? Any changes, increases? Obviously, there's always going to be the increase in hospitalization and things like that, but any other items?
So our budget only went up by maybe 3%, and that's just normal inflation.
Okay. All right, so we've got the outstanding questions on the staffing numbers. With that, Councilman Plensik.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And this is both to our office and to the finance director, to Mr. Gentile.
Is your mic on?
Oh, excuse me. This is to our staff and to also the director, to Mr. Gentile. On page 49, under charges from the telephone exchange, I've noticed throughout the book just a dramatic increase in that. Explain that to us. Why it should, you know, you went from 42,000 to 105,000. Explain that to me. That interdepartmental charge.
So I could, if you don't mind.
Well,
So if you look at the budget, if you remember from the budget retreat
Yes.
last week that I gave, our budget for last year was like 204,000, so this is down from that, but this is making sure that we have all of the funds for our internal service funds for our telephone exchange, which also includes our cell phone bills. Cell phone bills have gone down drastically because a lot of things are now encompassed into one number as opposed to having to pay by call.
But in the unaudited, it's 42,000, and then we need a green sheet for the corrections. You want to, who wants to comment on that from the administration? Do you know what I'm looking at?
Yeah.
On page 49.
Through the chair, the council person, all the internal service funds, we figure out what it's going to take to operate them, and then the chargebacks are to get them back to zero. So for telephone, printing, radio communication, any of the internal service MVM, we see what's going to take to operate them, and then we split the cost back out. If you look back to 2022, you were at 91,000.
Okay.
So now you're a little bit closer to that.
But then
These are the
again, then actual in 2024 unaudited, then we need a green sheet. There's got to be corrections.
No, this is actually what you were charged. We'll go back and look at,
Yeah,
did
I
they
need to
not
know that
charge you?
because you can see if you're looking at comparing 2024,
Yeah.
we're talking, we're talking over $60,000 increase.
Through the chair, the council person, I understand exactly
Okay,
what
so
you're
then,
talking about.
okay,
So we'll,
I've asked that through the chair.
Sure.
I want that number.
yeah.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
All right. Thank you. Who do we have next?
Casey.
Councilman Brian Casey.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, to the clerk, we have the clerk, then we have a deputy clerk, then we have an executive assistant to the clerk, and then we have a first assistant to the clerk. Who's the first assistant to the clerk? Mr. Chairman, to whomever.
Our first assistant to the clerk is Inez.
Okay, all right. And then the chief city archivist,
Archivist?
Chuck Moxern?
Yes.
All right, Mr. Chairman, to the clerk, he's for the whole city, correct?
No, he's
Or is
our
he just for city council?
He's council's chief archivist.
Okay, so he doesn't archive for the whole city then? He just archives for city council?
Mr. Chairman, to the council member, there may be particular projects that Chuck consults on or does for the administration, but he is a staff person for Cleveland City Council.
Okay, so do we know, Mr. Chairman, to the finance director, is there a city archivist?
I know.
I just want, because if he's doing it for the whole city, the question is why are we covering his salary or not covering, or how, the administration not covering for half his salary or anything? Not that I really care, but I mean, but if he's doing it for the city, council shouldn't just pay for it.
Yeah, through the chair to the councilman, we're not aware of the administration having an archivist.
Okay, all right, thank you.
All right. Anything else for Councilman Kerry McCormick?
Oh, where's yours? Okay. Thank you. Okay, so then, Chairman, in summary on this, the two part-time legislative assistant positions, so we need a green sheet then to remove those. Is that correct?
Not to remove them, because we still have those positions. We still, if we need those two positions, I need those to be able to, fill them if I need them.
So better to have them there than to remove.
Okay, I'm. Those are two new positions then.
I'll get you what I submitted, because those positions were there before. I don't know why it's showing like they're two new positions now. But I'll look at last year's budget, their budget book.
So was our last year budget 73?
It was 71, but as I stated, I did put in for a increase to the summer interns and one legislative staff. So I'll go back and look and see why that's reflecting that way.
So then the two are new positions for budget 25.
I do have 2 new budget positions,
Okay.
yes, but it's
Okay.
not specifically those. I don't know why they're
All
presenting
right,
that
so we
way.
will need a green sheet then to correct that and.
Possibly, but let
somewhat-
me verify and see what happened towards the end of the year to verify, because I could have moved one of the head counts and they just moved it in the budget. I don't know, but let me go and verify.
Okay, thanks.
Any more questions for the city council and clerk of council? Mr. Gentile.
Through the chair, is your total HUD count, we have it as 73.
That's what our new head count will be,
Okay,
is
so that's-
73.
okay, and
The
that's-
bottom line, yes, will be 73. It is 73.
Okay, so
All right, thank you. Councilwoman House Jones.
that's what we have.
Thank you. Through the chair, to our council team here, based on the conversation that we had regarding the communications audit, do we think, or I guess this is just general question to the council, in reconciliation to add in an additional staff person specifically for communications?
Mr. President, to Councilwoman House Jones, we do have a position, the position that the CFO talked about earlier, that would go, it was originally requested for administrative services. If it doesn't go there, it can go to communications or to any other cluster. So based on the audit, if that's where the position, where it makes the most sense to put an extra person, that would be fine. If it makes the most sense to put it as a chief of staff, it can go there. So that position is in our budget and can be utilized the way it makes the most sense.
Thank you for that. So just getting to, from when the point that this budget was created, I know the audit came afterward. There were things that were highlighted in the audit that is not reflective of the budget that we have. And so if, I think you said administrative services asked for one, that's something differently, so I'm not privy to what that was or the interworkings of that. And then in the audit, it indicated building capacity and in addition, a chief of staff, that's like 2 additional people. I really would, and then I know people say, well, we can get later into it once we have a full plan. There have been plans that have been discussed some time now. And so I hope within these next 2 to 3 weeks we can revise our plans and make the necessary adjustments that can be reflected in this budget, regardless of when they come on this year, because I know there is an expectation from some council members that we not wait another year. Many of us, we're not guaranteed tomorrow. We're guaranteed the remaining of 2025. We're not guaranteed to be here in 2026. And so at least, the least we can do is whether we decide whether we will be here or not, is making sure the investments are placed within this body so that people can actually have the capacity and support they need to relieve some of the stress that is on many of our council offices that people have been talking about for at least the 3 years that I have been here. And so, since we're putting it out there, I am encouraging this body in the reconciliation process, in addition to what was discussed from when this budget was created, to take the elements of the communications audit to ensure that the investment and the additional staff members are put in this budget so that it will be an accountability measure for this body to ensure we are making proper investments to get the proper resources.
Mr. Chairman, yes. Mr. Chairman, to Councilwoman House Jones, based on what you all talked about, your input from last week, comms, policy research.
Mr. Chairman, can you put me down?
And the strategy cluster are going to work together to create a plan for communications. And we're fairly sure that the money is in the budget to make whatever plan they develop doable. And I'll just refer to the CFO to correct me if I'm wrong about the money in the budget.
So through the chair to the councilwoman, the head count is there, so whatever I need to move them to, I have that. And that's all we have to do is just lay it out, who we need to, what positions we need to put those people in, and we have it there.
If we
So-
say, again, I'm, okay, if that's what we are saying. But the other thing I will also say, we actually are supposed to have a communication plan in place. I'm actually going to appreciate Councilmember Marr for sharing the request for proposal as part of the RFP process. A work product was to actually have a communications plan that I do not think we have. So that's just another thing. I know people said they are working on it, but the audit is already done, and it's hard to even know the investments that you're supposed to have if you don't actually have a plan in place in the here and now. So I guess we'll stay tuned to that.
All right, thank you. Councilman Joe Jones.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just want to do a shout out to some of the staff members that whenever I have had a situation, they have been like absolutely perfect. Our computer guy, Roswell, is great. Our people who handle our resolutions are wonderful. Leah Short, she does a fantastic job taking on a new position. And I'm just really appreciative because sometimes, Mr. Chairman, to the clerk, these are last-minute situations where we have to get resolutions out to people who unfortunately have passed, and then sometimes we find out about them at the last minute. And I'm very appreciative of that whole group. I'm appreciative of Crystal. She does a wonderful job as well. We have a great security team. And I'm thankful for that. But then there are others, Mr. Chairman, to Mrs. Clerk. Now, I'm not down here 90% of the time. I have a home office, and I work from that office majority of the time. And when I do come down here and I ask certain people to help me to get things done, I hate to have to always put it in writing, or I'm blown off. You know, so it's like, oh, I'm too busy, I'm doing this, that, and the other, or you're just gonna have to wait in line. You know, and I never really come to these people and really ask them for anything. And so I just wanted to put it on your radar screen that we should be hiring people, and if our people are overloaded, then we need to get more staff people to come in and assist. Because when I do if I come to you 10 times and you tell me 10 times that you really can't help me, or you're too busy, or you're dealing with 16 other members, I'm not trying to hear that. And so I'll just share with you that I'm frustrated here on this end, especially when it comes to getting programs out to serve my citizens. And it's not happening. And it has to come through our office first. So I'm not a happy camper about it. If we need to get additional staff people, I do miss John James. And so I'm here to tell you that I'm not a happy camper. I've asked for different things to happen. They still haven't happened. And now I'm dealing with a situation, and this is on both sides. Because the issue is once these applications, these PIFs are signed, then it's an issue of the legal side of it. It's an issue of waiting for the funds to be allocated. Then it's another issue for my local development corporations. It's one of the reasons, Mr. Chairman, I asked the mayor about local development corporations and funding, because it is really stressful as elected officials that we sit here at this table and we control this budget, a $2 billion budget, but yet we can't get the services to really go and reach our people, to help them fix their homes, to help them cut grass for those senior citizens who are elderly. To be held back is not cool. And it's not that it's an issue just one-sided. It's culpable on both sides. So I'm just sharing with you, Mr. Chairman, Mr. President, and to the clerk, that if we have people who are overwhelmed in their jobs, then we need to get some more help over there. I want to take the opportunity also just to shout out to the team who does the newsletters. They do a great job. I love the work that they do over there. So it's not all, unhappy, but on those main things that I need to get done, I just need assistance. And if we need to get additional staff people to come in and help out, I'm all game for that. I think that's really important. If these people who are doing some of the bulk of our work are just too busy, I get it, and they're tied up because they got a lot of work to do, I get that and I understand that too. But I just need to get some assistance on helping me get my programs out. Thank you.
Councilman, we're going to have that conversation with the clerk. If you ever have that issue, once again, as you brought it to my attention this morning,
I've been having it for the last 4 years.
Conversation with the clerk, okay?
I've been having it for 4 years, and I've begged about
That's
it.
an operational conversation. We'll have that operational conversation outside of this.
So, but I really appreciate you, Mr. Chairman,
Thank
Mr.
you, sir.
President.
Appreciate it. All right. Anyone else for the city council and clerk of council? Councilwoman Moore.
Thank you. I apologize. I was out with the family matter on Friday, and so I missed the budget retreat where we talked a little bit more about the communications audit. But I did receive the RFP this morning, and this relates to the budget in the sense that this is currently a line item under contractual. This audit that we completed, is that correct? Through the chair to the clerk.
Through the chair to the council member. So the first phase is what we contracted for, and that is complete, and the report has been released.
And just to be clear, did that cost the entire budgeted amount for the audit, the report that we received and that was presented to council on Friday through the chair?
Through the chair to the council member, I would have to go back and check the records to see if they billed us for, I'm sorry, I can't see her. To see if they billed us for the entire amount, I would have to check and see.
Okay, I think that seems important to figure out. I mean, I've been going back and forth over email, and I will share publicly what I've been saying privately there, which is the scope of the RFP that we released was for a comprehensive communications audit across our digital and our paper and all other forms of communication. The audit we received back was very limited in scope to the council social media pages. It didn't talk about the newsletters. It didn't talk about the budgeting. There's been very strict limitations about, for instance, our newsletter contract, where it's very, very hard, even in the best faith times, with really well-intentioned staff, to get the design time to finalize 3 newsletters a year and get them out to our wards. And so I don't fully understand, and I don't think we yet understand whether we are actually utilizing the communications money that we've set aside, whether there could be ways to spend that more flexibly, for instance, for just one-sided mail pieces versus these fold-open newsletters that take a lot of design time. And we put out an RFP that included an analysis of those written communications. The audit we received back was very, very limited to, frankly, the smallest scope of communications we do, which is our social media. It's a drop in the bucket compared to the work that this council does every day to communicate and inform our residents about key city issues. And I'd like to know whether that narrow audit that we received fully utilized the budget that we set out for that broader RFP. So through the chair, could I request that we get an update about whether we've been billed for the entirety of that contract? Or whether there is a second part of the communications audit coming related to our written physical communications.
Ms. Clerk and Deputy Clerk.
Yes, I'll get that to you.
Thank you very much.
Okay. All right, seeing no other questions regarding the city council and clerk of council, we'll move on to boards and commissions.
Page 61, Landmarks Commission, Secretary Daniel A. Musson. Page 62, Salaries and Wages, 2024 unaudited, $262,306. 2025 budgeted, $269,219. Total expenditures 2024 unaudited, $361,996. 2025 budgeted, $446,070. Page 63, number of employees December 2024, 10. Budgeted 2025, 10. Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. All right, Director, yes, but Director can do any opening statements? Did you have any opening comments?
No, we'll entertain questions.
We'll move into questions. Councilman Michael Polensek. We do have people in the directors, but once again, we bring up this time strictly for the finance. But what I have instructed everybody is, could you make sure that the directors or whoever is representing that department is available, because there are times when we have operational. But we have moved to talking strictly about the budget, but it would be good if you have any of those folks here, because some folks might have questions for those directors that need to explain it. So
No.
do we have anybody here from Landmarks, Board of Building Standards, Board of Zoning, or anything else?
To the council president, we do not. The idea was to have the directors available via text remotely in case there were questions. But because we're not getting into operational questions,
It would still be good to have the directors here. Could you make sure from here on out, City Planning Commission, Department of Aging, Department of Law, even if they are not here presenting their budget, in case they need to have questions at the table, need to make sure that they're at least here. Okay? Say that again? Yes, in the committee room. Okay?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, to me, it was just about a sign of respect for the legislative body, for them to be here. I'm aware we're dealing with budgetary issues, but again, for no one to be here from those various sections, departments, divisions, to me, again, it's me personally speaking. I cannot speak for anyone else, but to me, it's a sign of respect for the legislative body. So, based on that, my comments.
And if I could,
yeah.
I do want to make sure that I clarify.
Yeah.
I believe that some of those folks were told not to be here.
Okay.
So that's why I'm trying to make the clarification through the director, through Mr. Gentile, that even if they're not here at the table,
Thank you.
they should still be in the committee room available in case there are any questions.
Thank you. Mr. Chairman, the only question I would ask, if we could have an up-to-date breakdown by ward of the present landmarks, citywide, by ward. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. That's it.
If we can get that breakout and Landmarks can get that message, that'd be great. And once again, I do know that these specific commissioners did come to the operational hearings.
Yes.
But at the same time, to Councilman Polensek's point, just to be available, if it's my department, I want to be here to understand everything that's going on. Okay? Sure. Thank you. Any other questions for boards and commissions, Landmarks? Councilman Harsh?
So while we're trying to gather questions, can we, through the chair, can we find out why the professional services went from 1,000 or 2,000 a year to 57,000? What's that expectation? And then also why all of a sudden the print and repro and central storeroom charges?
Yeah, so through the chair to the councilman, the increase in professional services was to scan files and documents that were currently being stored in an attic. So it's a project to get those scanned. And I'm sorry, you had a second question? Is it the contractual?
Interdepartmental service charges, print and repro and central storeroom go from very modest every year to $5,000 each.
Through the chair, the council person again, all the internal service funds which are listed in that area, we figure out what their budget is and we actually split it across. So I'm not sure what they were budgeted last year. It's only based on usage, but this is their percentage that we charge, that we budget back to these different divisions. So you're going to see in each budget, those budgets went up in those areas. So their proportionate share went back, is higher in each of these budgets.
I'm sorry, that does not make sense to me. I apologize. It might be me not understanding, but
It's,
let me-
Councilman McCormick would like a point
Yeah,
to yours,
yeah.
because I think that he has the same concern.
Okay,
Yeah,
sure.
so
Councilman.
Councilman Harsh, this is exactly what we were talking about at the beginning. because these budget books do not include the budget from the previous year, you can't tell. It looks like a dollar. What we should have is budget 24, actual 24, budget 25. That's how this should work.
I
We've been
get
saying
it.
that for years. It doesn't exist for some reason. So it's hard to say, was there an increase in the budget or not, because budget 24 is not included in the book.
And I'm back on board.
And we're going to run into
Thank
that
you.
this entire process.
I get
Please
it.
proceed, Mr. Harsh.
That's all. Thanks.
All right. On that point, Councilman Starr.
On that point that Councilman McCormick brought up, without that type of data, how can we be efficient on our way of having oversight of the budget if we're just getting numbers based off what it is for this year compared to the years previously, as far as our oversight authority that we have as a council through the chair?
I don't know if that was a question specifically for me, but what I would tell you is what I did is looked at past. It made it a lot more difficult, and it was more time consuming comparing past books to present books. But I think everybody has your point, as well as the rest of the council's point, that we need to have that budgeted in there. Now, here we have another season, and these are conversations that we've been, trying to drill home. And like I said, the only way that I was able to look at it was to look at past budgets and kind of compare on a big table in my house to do that without it being made easier. So.
And to your point, we have up until April 1st with 3 different readings, which we need 2 more readings of the budget in order to make that possible, to Council President, correct? By April 1st?
To make what possible? I want to make sure I understand.
Meaning we have to pass the budget by April 1st, correctly?
Yes.
So we have
And
to have it read.
3 readings, yes.
Yeah, we have to have 3 readings. We already did an introduction, what counts as 1, right? And then we have to do 2 more in order for us to say pass the budget. So if we're requesting to have certain things added in, and I believe Dean Polizek made the same request last year and the previous year, and we're still not getting that request, are we still going to just continue to go and go through everything that we're supposed to do, or are we going to make?
Hey,
I'm just
if y'all
asking.
want the state and the governor to write the budget, then that's what everybody wants.
I'm not in favor of that, but what I'm saying is,
I'm trying to do the best I can with what I got. I understand your point. You bring up a very good point. And I don't disagree with what you're saying. I'm a little frustrated that we don't have it as well. But just kicking it down to the state is going to be a challenge.
no, not kicking it down to the state. I'm just trying to ask from our legislative authority what are we going to do. That's all.
All right. But you guys got any follow-up conversations?
Yeah, through the president to the committee, we absolutely can make that change. Unfortunately, it's late for this year. But I unfortunately wasn't here last year and was unaware of the need. But I will make sure it gets addressed for the next budget.
Mr. Chairman.
Councilman McCormick.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to proffer an amendment to ordinance 156-2025.
Go ahead.
I'd like to proffer the amendment that for all additional budgets from the year 2026 on shall contain at least the previous year's budget numbers and head count in them.
Amendment has been proffered and seconded. Do we have any discussion on that?
Do we have the law department here?
Is a second by a member of the Finance Committee.
It's got to be seconded by a member of Finance Committee. Councilman Harrison already did. Any other discussion? Seeing no other discussion, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? It passes. Thank you. So if we don't get it, to your point, Councilman Starr, which I share your frustration, then now it's amended, now it's legislated, and we will be able to have other action and recourse.
Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Councilman Joseph Jones.
Just want a clarification. How many board members do we currently have with the Board of Building Standards and Appeals? Mr. Chairman, to the commission, to the director, the CFO.
Director, do you have that answer for how many actual people do we have in Board of Building Standards?
7.
Yes, 7.
Yeah. Through the chair to the committee, it's 7 total board members, and they are fully staffed.
No further questions, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, thank you. All right, seeing no other questions for the Landmarks Commission, I guess we just, did we do Board of Standards? We didn't do Board of Building Standards yet, so can you read Board of Building Standards into the record?
Page 64, Board of Building Standards and Appeals, Executive Secretary Carmela Davis. Page 65, Salaries and Wages, 2024 unaudited, $156,631. 2025 budgeted, $194,566. Total expenditures, 2024 unaudited, $224,445. 2025 budgeted, $360,797. Page 66, number of employees, December of 2024, 7. Budgeted 2025, 7. Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Director.
No comments. We're open for questions.
All right. Any questions for Director Barrett? Councilman Mike Polensky.
Mr. Chairman, on all the, excuse me, on all the boards and commissions, he could provide us an up-to-date list of who they are presently. Thank you.
Okay. All right. Can we get those follow-up if you could get for all of these boards and commissions? All right. Seeing no other questions, Board of Building Standards and Appeals. We'll move to Board of Zoning Appeals.
Page 67, Board of Zoning Appeals, Secretary Elizabeth Kukla. Page 68, Salaries and Wages, 2024 unaudited, $180,471. 2025 budgeted, $185,468. Total expenditures, 2024 unaudited, $265,958. 2025 budgeted, $352,747. Page 69, number of employees, December of 2024, 7. Budgeted 2025, 7. Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Chairman, I have a question.
All right. Councilman Polensky.
Mr. Chairman, on page 68, under professional services, we had no costs in 2022, 2023, nothing unaudited, 24. Now it's 52,000. Explain to me what that's about.
Ms. Gallagher, I believe, is going to answer that.
Through the chair, we have a citywide contract that's centralized for scanning documents. Our storage space is really insufficient for any more documents, so you'll see in departments that they'll have more budget for scanning of documents.
And where, okay, and my question is, where are those documents going? We're scanning them and they're going where?
To the chair of the council person, once they're scanned, they're indexed and they're going to the cloud, so they're going to be digital. But the firm that we hired has to index them so we can actually go back and find them.
Does the city archivist, does archivist have access to those?
Yeah, any city employee should be able to have
Okay, I
access
want to
to
make sure of that. So I'll make that request. I want to make sure
Yes.
that the council archivist has access to those files.
Yes, through the chair of the council person, yes.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right. Thank you. I don't see any other questions about Board of Zoning Appeals. We'll move on to City Planning Commission. City Planning Commission, and did somebody get the message? I think the chief did tell me that he reached out to the directors to tell the directors that they need to be over here. So their chief has mentioned it to them, but I'll read this into the record.
Page,
Please, Chair.
page 79, City Planning Commission, Interim Director Marka Fields. Page 81, Salaries and Wages, 2024 unaudited, $1,817,575. 2025 budgeted, $2,161,856. Total expenditures on page 82, 2024 unaudited, $3,659,900. 2025 budgeted, $3,681,802. Page 83, number of employees, December of 2024, 30. Budgeted 2025, 34. Mr. Chairman.
All right, thank you. Director, do you have any openings?
No comments. We're open for questions.
Okay, I'll open up the floor to any questions.
Mr. Chairman?
Councilman Polensky.
On page 81, under professional services, is that the same thing? About digitizing or doing whatever he's supposed to be? It went from 34,000 to 200,000.
Once again, that's unaudited, but is
Yeah.
that your budget?
It's through the chair of the council person. Actually, this is on call planning services. So this is something new, a new contract.
Tell me what's new about it. What is it?
Through the chair. So 100 of that is for the on-call planning services, and that's when they need additional services of people that when they can't do the projects. And then 100,000 of that is also for the curb management.
And we've never done that before?
The curb management is new through the chair. It's a pilot program to evaluate the feasibility of the smart loading zones and the automated license plate readers. And they are doing that pilot to see if the vendor could install the ALPRs on existing light poles to collect curb usage.
Wait, you really got me confused. How is this falling under city planning? That license plate readers are a public safety issue.
I think it's for on-street parking.
Okay, Mr. Chairman, I make a request to staff. We can get a broader explanation as it pertains to that line item, professional services under contractual services on page 81. If we can get additional information on that, I certainly would appreciate broader explanation.
Thank you. Councilman McCormick, on that point, would you allow Councilman McCormick?
I'm fine, I'm through.
Okay.
Thank you, Chair. The one item, the on-call services has gone through the development committee, so that has gone through council. That's the extended services. That was up quite a bit of debate on Councilman Harrison's committee, but that program has gone through committee. I just wanted to acknowledge that. I don't know about the license plate reader, but
Yeah,
the on-call service component did go through committee.
Okay.
It's
Thank you.
100,000.
Mr. Chairman.
Hold up one second. Ms. Gallagher, did you have a follow-up?
No.
Okay. And Councilman Palencia, you done?
I'm fine.
All right, Councilman Joseph Jones.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Looking here at, and I think my colleague brought it out, did you give an explanation on the reason, maybe I didn't hear you, on the reason why that would be included in the budget, these scanners?
Through the chair, that's for on-street parking.
And that would be put up under the city planning proposition. And then let me just, I'm just going to say this. I've been sitting here for quite some time at this table, and I've looked at some of these definitions. And there was a time when we had the definition up under City Planning Commission. Their responsibility was to work in every single neighborhood and come up with a plan to help those neighborhoods be vibrant. That function I haven't seen happen in quite some time. And you've even taken the definition out and changed it up. And it doesn't even make sense to me like the old definition. So my question is, Mr. Chairman, to the director, the CFO, when did we change the definition? Because I know it's a total different definition of city planning 4 years ago than what it is today. I currently read in the book.
Yeah.
And then who gets the authority to restructure an entire department?
Yeah, through the chair to the councilman, I think that's more of an operational question. I'm not aware of any change in the definition.
I can show you the changes. I got them. And so, to me, it just seems like we got all these members of Cleveland City Council sitting over on this table. And we sit here and we've changed the meanings of what these departments are to do. And none of us have been consulted here on the changes that have been made over the space of time, even some of the slightest changes. So now I look at the definition of what the City Planning Commission is. It's totally different than what it was just a mere 4 years, 5 years ago. So that's the reason why I'm asking that question. And so I know, Mr. Gentile, when I looked at this book here and I looked up under where it says the mission statement, it is a total different mission statement than what it was before. And so, and the only reason why I know that is because I had to look at some old books, and I was in my old library, and I looked at some of these definitions, so they're changed. So I'll bring them back to you, and Mr. Chairman, I'll bring this to your attention so you can see the difference, because there are differences. And let me just say this. And this is where I come from. I come from that generation that if this is the mission, then the mission needs to be changed by the members of either Cleveland City Council, or the mission needs to be changed by the mayor with the approval of Cleveland City Council. But planning, and that's the reason why our neighborhoods look so bad. We're supposed to have people who come in and plan a vision for our downtown area, for vibrancy, for growth, for economic development. We're supposed to be planning on our communities and our neighborhoods. Now, Mr. Chairman, to our CFO, if I want to get a master plan for my neighborhood, I got to go and find the funds to do it, to have someone on the outside come plan my neighborhood and what it should look like or what it should be in the future. We should already have that housed in-house. And that's the way you fundamentally grow a city. We talked about this earlier about bringing population into the city of Cleveland. And we talked about how we need to grow that population and what kind of housing. Well, all of that, Mr. Chairman, to my colleagues sitting here at the table, is important for the future of our city, is to have a department that is looking at all of our neighborhoods and equally working to distribute resources to those communities so that we won't be in the situation, unfortunately, in some of our neighborhoods where we're rebuilding. So I just wanted to put that on your radar screen. I will go back and bring my old budget book, and I'll bring it to you, to the new CFO, and to Mr. Gentile. You probably got all the books down there. You go down there and see them and when you leave here.
Yes.
Are you doing okay, distinguished gentleman, Mr. Gentile? Yeah. Okay, good. Well, thank you, Mr. Chairman. If you don't have, do you have any comments, Mr. Gentile, or to the CFO?
I mean, through the chair to the councilman, we're happy to look at whether there was a mission statement or what the change in the mission statement was over the last few years. Obviously, that's a operational question. I don't have that readily available, but we'll look into that.
Right. And Mr. Chairman, this is not, if I can, Mr. Chairman, this is not the only area where we've actually changed the mission statement. You know, so I've been through some of my other books, and I saw some other changes too. Some of them are slight changes, and some of them are significant changes. So then who, Mr. Chairman, who would make that call to change this up like this?
So, and I'm gonna try to take a crack at this. Most of what these departments are supposed to do is supposed to be outlined in the charter.
Yes, sir.
And most of these things that are in the book is where I think you guys continue to throw council a couple of curveballs, especially some of the more council members that have been here longer, like Councilman Jones and Councilman Polincic, is because really you just kind of just took what was out of the charter and plugged it into the book. I don't know why somebody made the decision to not include that, but to the councilman's point, it's really just a cut and paste job. That's pretty much what it was. So just to let you know, it wasn't, to my knowledge, and I've been here for the last 8 years, we haven't passed any legislation to change the duties and responsibilities of any department. So that has to be done by charter. So to your point, I think it just wasn't taken from the charter and put into the book like you're used to. Point taken.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I don't have no further questions on it. I just noticed that and just wanted to bring it to your attention because, again, Mr. Chairman, I think that our City Planning Commission is a really important commission, and it seems diminished.
Yep. Through the chair to the councilman, so these
And what I
missions-
mean by diminished, for clarification, is the definition that's in the book has changed.
So these mission statements actually come from the divisions and are supplied to us. So that's something that we can do is go back and make sure that they're consistent with what's in the charter.
And just to make it clear, what the councilman is saying is that if the charter hasn't changed the operation of the actual department, then the department should reflect what the charter says. And that's what I think he's trying to get to the point of, which I agree, need to make sure if we can make that change.
Sure.
Okay? Thank you, Councilman.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. That's all.
All right, I don't see any other questions. Oh, Councilman Michael Polincic.
Mr. Chairman, on page 82, under capital outlay, transfer to capital projects, what transpired between 2024 and now 2025? Can you explain that to us?
Through the chair, I have a list that I could go over you for the 2024 numbers if you'd like that. It was 200,000 for Vision Zero, 240,000 for the citywide plan, 100,000 for the on-call planning services, 100,000 for reconnecting communities, 100,000 for phase 2 of the form-based code, 15,000 for community engagement training, 11,000 for office of planning furniture, and 25,000 for the public art program.
Okay, so I'll request that in writing for the 2024 unaudited, and for 2025, then what are you proposing to do for 2025 with the 200,000?
Through the chair, the 200,000 is just for the Vision Zero program.
Okay, so I'll request that, Mr. Chairman, through our staff in writing. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Seeing no other questions, City Planning Commission, we'll move forward with the Department of Aging.
Page 130, Department of Aging, Director Mary McNamara. Page 131, Salaries and Wages, 2024 unaudited, 986,104. 2025 budgeted, 1,122,675. Page 132, total expenditures, 2024 unaudited, 1,959,073. 2025 budgeted, 2,429,516. Page 133, number of employees December 2024, 18. Budgeted 2025, 21. Mr. Chairman.
All right, thank you. Director, did you have any opening comments?
No comments. We're open for questions.
All right, Department of Aging,
Chairman.
Councilman Michael Polensky.
Mr. Chairman, I don't know if this might have been requested by staff already. Do you have the breakdown by ward of the senior assistance program, the home repair program? Do you have that broken down by ward?
The one that we did?
Yes.
Through the chair, the age-friendly?
Yes.
I can get that for you.
Yes, if you can provide that to us by ward, and I don't know what other information you have, if you have names or addresses or locations, trying to get a better understanding. Where does that show up? Does that show up at all in this budget, or what line item would that funding source be?
Through the chair, you wouldn't see that in aging's budget, so
Yes.
it's actually on page 295 and
29
transfer to other funds.
It's
That
295?
gets transferred to capital project.
Now, wait a minute, I want to find that. 295,
Yes.
so that would be under what?
Transfer to capital?
Transfer to capital. So that's it, the 2.55?
That's correct.
That's the senior program.
Through the chair, yes.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chairman.
And just for point of clarification on that, just to be clear, we are not allowed to use the 1.9% from RIT dollars anymore. Is that correct, Director or Mr. Gentile? I know in the past, first couple of years, we were trying to use money from RIT, restricted income tax dollars, but then I think we made a change and moved towards taking that money that we were getting for a council out of the general fund.
Yeah, through to the chairman and the committee members, yes, we, in the discussion with law, they had some problems using RIT, so now we've continued to fund this out of the general fund, so that's where it's coming from this year.
So just to make sure that we understand this, and this is something I'm going to ask our policy team to make sure that we watch and flag, if we are using more RIT money to handle infrastructure, because now RIT has to be specifically used, that 1.9% of the city budget has to be used for infrastructure, then is that part of that 12 million? Or is that not part of that 12 million that we set aside for road resurfacing?
Through the chair, the council person, usually we use roadway bonds and the street division. So we don't really, for the most part, use RIT for road construction. We have resurfacing sometimes, but that's not the main source of resurfacing.
So RIT has to be done for capital projects, which it either has to be on our buildings, our parks, our streets, or one of those items. So what I'm trying to understand is if we're using that 1.9% that we used to allocate towards age-friendly, I'm trying to find some money, Mr. Gentile, so that we can continue to help people with home repair. And what I want to make sure is that we're not using money that we used to use and then saying, oops, we can't put money towards home repair, because even though we're only able to do a small amount, it's very critical to emergency repairs for seniors throughout the year. So I just want to make sure I understand if that was replenished, and if not, where would we replenish it?
Through the chair, the council, to the council chair, in the general fund, we budgeted 2.55 million for
Okay,
home
so you
repair.
did do that.
Right, on
Okay.
page 295.
I just
So
wanna make sure-
Fully funded this year. Last year, I think we only funded half in the beginning, then we did half of the transfer ordinance, but this year, in the budget we presented, we budgeted the entire thing.
That's what I
In the
thought. So
general
we did
fund.
half with the transfer ordinance and half
Last year.
Last year. Okay, I just want to make sure because
it's
that is
all-
a critical
it's fully
line
funded.
item for us to take care
It's 100% fully funded in this operating budget.
Thank you.
Point of information.
1 second, if I could. I got a couple of people that come up.
Is there a backlog?
Ms. McNamara, I know that you were not supposed to be at the table, but a backlog, that's what Councilman Polensek is asking, if we can get an update. And probably be better if we could, Mr. Chairman, Mr. Polensek, if we could just work with Mr. Hairston and just get an update on the entire program.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
So then that way we can make any adjustments and understand where we're at, because I know that finding blended funding all over the city is always a challenge, and we don't want to lose sight of what they're doing with aging.
Thank
I
you.
had Councilman Jones and then Councilwoman House Jones.
Thank you. Myself as well.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, for bringing that whole point out and talking about the percentage that's there to ensure that we have those resources, because we do need to have those resources to help our senior citizens out with the kind of repairs and stuff that they need to have. So, but I just want to add on to that, Mr. Chairman, because I overheard this. How much money are we allocating for the streets?
We're going to talk about that more with municipal services, but right now, they have allocated 12. I will tell you that I've had conversations with Mr. Beard as well as the mayor, and it is my intention to try to find ways to increase that.
Mr.
That
Chairman.
is going to be more than likely an item that we have to do in reconciliation. However, I will tell you that Councilman Bishop and myself have been talking about where we can find that and where we can push that money,
Well,
which is
I
why
would-
I've been trying to understand the RIT and how the RIT is being, spent as well, because I'm always looking for where we can make those investments.
Well, first of all, let me congratulate you on that, because I'm 110% there. Nothing says to our citizens we love you more than trying to see improvements happening in their neighborhood. And I have been fighting at this table for 8 years, talking about $20 million should be in that program every year, year in and year out. And when I got here, I think we only had $4 million there. And we were dodging chuck holes and falling in third world countries on our streets. And so I appreciate the effort, Mr. Chairman, that you are taking, along with my council colleague, Kevin Bishop, to look to increase those funds. But my suggestion, and the citizens that I've talked to all across this city would love to see these roads continue and move towards the direction of improvement. So with that, I don't have any further questions, but I would like to be put on a list to ask questions in the Department of Aging.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
We will follow up with that during municipal services, but rest assured, Councilman Bishop has been all over this, okay? Councilwoman House Jones.
Just asking a question, Chair. You indicated there were changes regarding the restricted income tax. Can you provide more clarification, or was there some information sent out about when this occurred, what happened, what was the conversation? But again, when did it happen? Was the information actually shared with council members? Because again, I did some research and there is just some, I would just like to have the information.
So remind me, Mr. Gentile, being a person here longer, I think that actually happened, and that change happened before the councilwoman got into office. If I recall, it happened about 2019 or 2020 when we made that transition. We used to get housing money to try to make home repairs out of the restricted income tax. And then we were found to be in violation that it was not what RIT has to be used for. And then that's when the conversation tripped to we could use it on any of our city assets, buildings, roads, and those things, but we couldn't use it for private homes. And that's when we had to find more. So about 5 years ago.
Yeah, no, I'm just asking.
Yeah.
It's based
So
on
it was a while
5
ago.
years.
Yeah, it
Okay,
just
I thought,
happened.
I was thinking there was something that was recently.
It happened
Okay,
a while
all
ago.
was
That's
trying
why I
to
just
figure out.
wanted to make sure that I understood where the RIT dollars, where they're being spent at now, because they can only be, they're very restrictive. But thank you for the question. Okay? All right, Councilman McCormick.
Thank you, Chair. On page 133. All right, administrative assistant, is that assistant to the director? Good. She's needed one for a long time. She works really hard and
Yes.
baffles my mind that she didn't have this years ago. Okay, and then the other, I want to speak in support. There are 2 additional project coordinators as well. I'm glad we're seeing an increase in this division, especially around folks that work with our seniors. I don't need to tell anybody at this table why that's so important. So I'm happy to see us invest more in this division from a headcount perspective, a critical division, and I'm happy to see that the director is getting a little help there as well on her end. So thank you.
Thank you. All right, seeing no other,
questions.
Councilwoman Spencer. Councilwoman Spencer?
Mr. Chair, my sincere apologies. I believe this question was already raised, but I really want to make sure I really understand where this is in the budget. The age-friendly program does not appear in the Department of Aging's budget. On what page does it appear? Through the chair. 285? 295? And through the chair, why is the age-friendly program handled in this manner? And where is it on page 295? Through the chair.
Through the chair to the councilwoman, it's under transfer to capital. It's at the very bottom of the transfers.
Okay.
It's handled this way because it's actually transferred into a capital project, and this is where we would fund that, not actually out of the actual department. We fund it out of that area because it's a capital expense.
So it's, through the chair, it's a general fund subsidy to capital. Is that accurate, through the chair?
Right, through the chair to the councilperson, yes.
Okay, but it is fully funded at 150,000 per ward or 100? Through the chair?
It's 175.
175 per ward?
Yeah.
I'll
the
also do
math.
the quick math,
Yes.
but, okay. All right, thank you.
All right, any other questions for Department of Aging? Councilman Joseph Jones?
Nothing.
My colleague asked for, because the Department of Aging does a lot of things for our senior citizens, and the listing of all the services that it provides and the neighborhoods that it helped. I know it was requested, but was it requested for every single neighborhood, Mr. Chairman?
Could we clarify the request for the administration? I think what he's asked for is a breakdown of services for all the neighborhoods. And I think that will be any of the services that you provide, chore, or any of the other ones. So do you have a way to give that to council for all wards? So Ms.
Yeah.
McNamara will follow up and make sure that we.
Is she going to come to the table and talk,
Uh,
Mr. Chairman?
Right now, we got.
Well, let
we're
me-
dealing with
let me
budget,
say
but
this.
I do want to make sure that she's going to follow up with that
Right.
information.
So let me say this then. It is always good to have the directors, especially when it comes to finance, and we have questions concerning the actual department, because they know better their department than anybody, because they do it 24/7. So my suggestion, Mr. Chairman, is, we have these directors here, and if we have questions, this is the time that we get to ask how these programs work. Are they programs that are getting traction in our neighborhood? Are they successful? And we've done this in the past, and I know we've changed up now, but it's really difficult to really ask these types of questions until we're around the budget hearing time.
Councilman, can I do this?
So
if we
I
could?
would ask this question, Mr. Chairman.
We're going to meet with
since
us and have that conversation amongst us, because this body is who asked us to stay with that format. This body is the one that asked me
Well,
to move
Mr.
away
Chairman-
from the operational side and then move towards doing the operations separate than this.
All right.
So I'm
but-
just trying to do what the body has asked us to do.
Well, I
But
don't know
if
who it
you
was.
wanna revisit
So
that,
I
we'll
don't know
have that
who it
conversation.
was that asked. 'Cause you saying that, I don't know who asked.
Okay.
So I'm sitting here at the table, and my people asked me to come down here and ask questions. And so when I'm trying to deal with the trying to determine if the budget that we're giving to a particular director or commissioner is sufficient, then I'm asking questions on the quality of the deliverable of services. And one of the issues, Mr. Chairman, and to this body or whoever the askers are, is to make sure that we have these directors and commissioners here. We ask them the types of questions that we've always asked them. And most of us, especially myself, want to be able to share at those moments and times, the concerns our citizens
Councilman,
have
we'll
and how to
consider-
improve those
We'll
programs.
consider
Mr. Chairman,
scrapping
if
the
I may.
operational and just doing budget hearings.
Mr. Chairman, I
We'll
got what you
we'll
said.
revisit that.
I understand,
And
Mr.
wanna
Chairman.
revisit that.
I don't
Your
want you
point
to
is
think
good.
I'm being difficult. I
No,
just
I'm
wanted
just- we don't have
no,
time to
that's
continue
okay. I got 15 minutes, and so I'm sharing in the time that I got based on what we've approved at this table, and showing my objection to this process. And so what I'm saying, Mr. Chairman, to be clear here, is that the Department of Aging is a significant and important department. I like the director. I appreciate the work that she does. And, I would like to see, Mr. Chairman, since the director's in the audience, I would love to, first let me just say kudos, because she's run a really good program for my grass cutting program for my seniors. So I've had a flawless process with you, Director. I really appreciate the work that you do for our senior citizens in our neighborhoods. I would like to request that information on the breakdown of all the things you do. And then, Mr. Chairman, I have suggestions that, that is important. One of the things that I've talked about here at the table, Mr. Chairman, to the CFO, to the director who's listening, is our senior citizens don't feel safe in their homes. And so what I've been trying to work on, and I'm getting some traction across from the county people, is a program where we have ring doorbells put on our senior citizens' homes. And so that would be a something I would ask, that I would like to work with the director, Mr. Chairman, through one of our development corporations. Same way we work with the grass cuts program, we want to be able to work a program out where it's efficient and easy for senior citizens in the city of Cleveland to get ring doorbells at their homes. So I would love to work with you, Mr. Chairman, to do everything we can to protect our senior citizens, the most vulnerable in our society. So I appreciate that, Mr. Chairman, and then I want to ask a question real quick on the budget.
Please, if you have any answers for Councilman Jones. All right, if you could do the thing, Councilman, we'll go to the budget time.
So Mr. Chairman, just clarification, do we have anything else, Mr. Chairman, to our CFO that is being subsidized or being transferred from out of the capital outlay that supports the various programs in the Department of Aging?
Yeah, through the chair to the councilman, we are not aware of anything, no.
Okay. And Mr. Chairman, how many people are currently budgeted for the Department of Aging? I see that number here, but how many are actually in there doing the work currently?
So through the chair to the councilman, if you'll refer to page 133, we have 21 total budgeted, and as of the end of 2024, we had 18.
And Mr. Chairman, this is just dealing out of the general fund, correct?
Through the chair, the councilperson, correct.
And Mr. Chairman, what other funds, because this is not the appropriate number here that I see. So how many people are working from other funds in the Department of Aging? And what are those funds?
Joe, pass it out. Through the chair, the council person, they have several grant-funded positions. I think we gave a handout to Joe Titron to pass out. Maybe it's not.
See, and that's why it'd be good to have that information right here in front of us.
Yeah, I think
So,
we
so
submitted
the
it.
question is, so just make sure I'm clear. You have some that are grant funded. Is that through, Mr. Chairman, through block grants? So I want to get, yeah, I know that's exactly right. So what are all the funding sources? And then what is the real total look or the picture of the Department of Aging in terms of staff?
Yeah. Through the chair, the council person, we will get you the grant funding for the entire city. So we have a document that has every department and all the grant-funded positions. So not just for aging, for all the rest of them. So we put something together because we knew that's a question. We'll make sure we get you a copy, right after this. We have it downstairs, so.
So would that be something, Mr. Chairman, that we should show in these different, to the CFO, show the other funding sources and the true numbers in each of these departments so that when we're sitting here, it's a little bit easier for us to ask instead of asking all these questions?
Through the chair, the council person, we want to keep this pretty much operational budgets, but definitely I think it's important that you get a picture of what the true staffing is, the total staffing, how many people are grant funded, how many people are general fund funded. So we did put a document together. So
Yeah, through the chair to the councilman, I think it'd be a good idea to have a complimentary document every year with the budget. So I think this is a good idea. What Mr. Gentile is talking about with having a list of grant-funded positions by department. So that's something that we can add to our process, even though it's not technically operational. That's information that we're able.
And thank you, Mr. Chairman, to the CFO, because that would be very helpful, because we're not just talking about the general fund dollars, but we're talking about block grant funds, and then there's other grants, correct, Mr. Chairman?
through the chair, the council person, yes, there's other grants that fund aging as well.
And let me ask this question, Mr. Chairman, because I'm not sure. How much are we funding on the block grant in addition to this? And then how much are we funding in terms of the other grants that are separate from block grant?
Through the chair, the council person, put those numbers on the list of the employees, so we'll get you that.
I see. Well, Mr. Chairman, it'd be good to take a look at that. And then that would also be a question I would ask for our safety forces too, because over the years, we don't have a true picture on just how much money is coming in to a particular department. So that would be very helpful and knowledgeable to have that information as well as an attachment, Mr. Chairman, to the CFO.
Yes, through the chair of the council person, we have that list. So we have the list for the entire city, including safety, any other department, and their grant-funded positions.
Okay. I appreciate it, Mr. Chairman, to the director and to our CFO, Mr. Gentile, and to our CFO and then to Mr. Gentile. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilman Anthony Harrison.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Gentile, as a clarification through the chair, the document you sent has citywide, correct, on the grant funded positions?
Through the chair of the council person, yeah, we provided something last week, but we'll
Yes,
get it back.
We have it. Check your Dropbox. It's in your Dropbox. So we did receive it.
And that's citywide, because we
Yes.
submitted it last week, so, because that always comes up, and we know that council wants a complete picture
Absolutely.
of total staffing, so
Yes,
this year
sir.
we've
Well, you
actually
told me a couple
provided
weeks
that
ago
ahead
you were
of time.
preparing that because you knew that would be an anticipated
Yes.
question.
When I talk with
So
you,
I thank
yes.
you for that. I skimmed through it. I didn't know whether it was citywide, so my only question was whether it was citywide, and you answered that. But we do have it. Folks, check your Dropbox. Mr. Tyson has sent a tremendous amount of information to all of us. If you look at your Dropbox, everybody, you'll see all the information that you need is there. All right? Thank you, Mr. Tyson and staff.
Thank you, Councilman Harrison. Appreciate the clarification. I don't see any other questions regarding the Department of Aging. Oh, I'm sorry. Hold up. I'm just trying to get through this. Councilwoman House Jones. Councilman House Jones.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So no, real quick, I know we share, it's just the output metrics, and just in context, and this is just probably a ask, how are the services we are providing through the Department of Aging in relationship to the partnership with the Cuyahoga County Senior and Adult Services. Do we have an idea of what that looks like from a holistic perspective so we can really understand things we may be doing that are similar, that are not similar? How is that evaluation made? Does anybody know? Or how even in the investment of, in some form or fashion, the investment that is being hopefully leveraged from the county as it relates to the city of Cleveland.
Yeah, so through the chair to the councilwoman, I think we're kind of getting into this realm of operations type questions. We'd be happy to follow up with an answer, but we don't have that information readily available.
Well, in terms of financing, do we know typically how much is invested from the county when it comes to aging in the city of Cleveland?
The chair, the councilwoman, we don't have that. We'll talk to Director McNamara, see if she has a grasp of that. If not, we'll reach out to the county.
Right, and I guess in the context of the budget, the idea is to understand, because many times we hear at this table, oh, human services is a county function, right? And we are doing it and really trying to get an understanding if how our investment is in alignment, in competition, or in cooperation with the county so that we can make an informed decision about, we know senior services is appropriate, right? But who is in the best position based on their capacity to actually do it through and through? That's the question. So, thank you.
And Council Lady, I think that will be a great exercise in looking at Director McNamara to try to bring Ms. June Taylor from WRAAA, as well as County Senior and Adult Services, because that's something that I think that we can all get behind and have that conversation. So I think we should really have that larger conversation. And actually, I think we should do that with all social services, with the county, as well as all the things that we're investing in, because Councilman is right. It's good for us to be able to understand the universe while we're making these decisions. Okay?
Right, and again, just through the chair, it is not a thing to say that it's not important. That's not what is being said. What I'm saying is we, as a city, are spread entirely too thin, right? We're listening to Chair Bishop that talks about we need to get back to, these basics of the streets, right? And how do you do that in comparison, knowing that all the needs are very important, but it's who is the best team that we need to be deploying at a specific time based on the needs. So thank you.
And totally concur. That's why I said I really think that you bring up what has probably been a long time coming, which is a broader conversation, because one thing about us, no matter what the service is, we're going to come through for our citizens. So because we know, regardless, whether it's social service, whether it's feeding them, that's why if these federal government programs get cut, we're going to have to find money to try to help feed people and do everything too. So I think your point is well taken, and I think at some point in time we need to have a broader discussion on where all those chips lie. Okay?
Yep.
I don't think I have anybody else. Okay, that being said, I'll move on to Department of Law.
Page 138, Department of Law, Chief Legal Counsel / Law Director, Mark D. Griffin. Page 139, Salaries and Wages, 2024 unaudited, $7,922,935. 2025 budgeted, $8,516,969. Total expenditures on page 140, 2024 unaudited, $20,606,256. 2025 budgeted, $21,716,472. Page 141, number of employees December of 2024, 90. Budgeted 2025, 98, Mr. Chairman.
All right. I just go into questions. Councilman McCormick.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I've gone through the budget. I don't have any major questions. I just have one fundamental question. Director, and I'm going to look at him over here too. I was yelling at my resident Barb Lang Henry during COVID through Zoom on this issue. does this budget, we've underpaid our lawyers for so damn long. I know the director has done a lot of good work trying to rectify that. So, Director, does this budget allow us the dollars that understand they're not going to be paid like a Jones Day partner? I get that. But does this budget coordinate with the Director of Law, allowing for us to fairly compensate our attorneys for what they deserve for the hard work they do on a daily basis?
Yeah, through the chair to the councilman, I'm not aware of any requests that law made to increase salaries that we denied.
Okay.
From a finance side,
Including our prosecutors?
I'm not aware of anything that was denied, any request from law. I will say there are 2 added positions this year, one to assist them with IT, and then another assistant director of law to assist with those duties.
All right, thank you, Chair. And I would just say that, again, I want to see us double down on our support for this department. It's really, really, really important. I don't think that they've been looked after as much as they should have over the years, quite frankly. And, you know, they do a lot of behind-the-scenes work for the city of Cleveland. I don't need to tell anyone that here. You all know that. So I just want to make sure in this budget and as we move forward, and the director is behind you, so I know he can hear my voice, and the prosecutor is behind him, so she can hear my voice, that we take care of our lawyers and we pay them as what we can. I get it, we're in government, for the good work that they do. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Councilman Brian Casey, then Councilman Michael Polisic.
Thank you. Mr. Chairman, to the director, who's the executive assistant to the mayor?
Through the chair to the council, that's the director and the chief and the director, Mark Griffin.
Then who is the director of law?
Through the chair of the councilperson, he has both titles. He has both.
So we're budgeting 1 person, 2 salaries.
I don't see it.
At the bottom of page 140, we have a director of law. There's one of them. Top of page 141, we have an executive assistant to the mayor. And you just said, Mr. Chairman and Mr. Gentile, the director of law is Mark Griffin, and the executive assistant to the mayor is Mark Griffin.
Sorry. Through the chair to the councilperson, I'm sorry. That's Lee Anderson who does. The executive assistant's Lee Anderson. The director of law is listed as director. My apologies.
And then Lee Anderson is not on this page that you gave us earlier with all the executive assistants to the mayor. So we have 1 executive assistant to the mayor on this sheet. We have 4 on this sheet with a vacant, right, for executive assistants. So where does this one come in?
Through the chair of the councilperson, those are the ones that are actually on the mayor's budget and be in charge of the mayor's budget. There was a request that we give you a list of all the other ones.
Okay.
They're different budgets, so it should be included in that list that we give you. Like Chief Tiwan is one that's, and Epstein.
Okay,
Chief
so then,
we'll
Mr.
get you
Chairman,
another
to
one.
the director, to the finance director, in total, in this budget, in this book, how many executive assistants to the mayor are there?
Through the
In
chair-
total?
Through the chair to the council member, we would have to total that up amongst the different groups.
There's 1 request. So we have 19 out of the mayor's office, and now we're going to find additional executive assistants to the mayor throughout the book.
And
Correct.
just to let you know, that request is in to get all of that. So Mike asked for that earlier.
Right, no, I'm just trying to figure out, it's just, no wonder we can find $5 million for the. All right, under professionals, why does the law department need a project specialist, a project director, a project coordinator? And then what's the difference between assistant director of laws 1, 2 with S's after them on page 141? What are the projects that we need the coordinators for? We need 2 project coordinators. What's those for? We also have a project director one director probably directing 2 coordinators. But then we have the specialist who's thrown in there who we don't know what that is.
Yeah, through the chair to the councilman, I think we have to actually dive in with the director and find out what the exact duties are. So we can do that.
Come on up, Director. Councilman, we're gonna go back to, we're gonna call it the Joe Jones Amendment. We'll go back to the old way of we did it so that everybody could be happy. I apologize. We tried a different format, evidently is creating a problem. We'll revisit it, okay?
Thank you, Mr.
Thank you, sir. All right. Mr. Griffin, if you could please proceed.
First of all, I want to say thank you. I want to say thank you through the chair to council members. I appreciate the chance to come. I have not prepared the same way that I would for a full operational hearing, but I want to address the councilman's questions. And I believe you were asking who are the project coordinators and why do we have 2 or 3? So we have one project coordinator for public records to make sure that records go out as quickly as possible, and in particular for media. So we prioritize that. We also have a project coordinator for the police accountability team to try to make sure that we continue our progress with respect to the consent decree. And then I think our third is, frankly, sort of an anomaly from the utilities department as well. That's my understanding of where those 3 are.
Thank you. And Councilman, you also had a question about the S, is that correct?
Yeah, the Assistant Director of Law, 1, 2, and then ones with S's after them. What's the S mean?
Yeah. Again, that is a promotional piece. So we do have a more senior Assistant Director of Law who we hired, in fact, actually for public records, that is at a higher level of compensation.
All right, and then just one last question. Under professional services, the $4 million, is that enough? Do we really spend $4 million? Having a staff of 98, do we really spend $4 million in outside legal counsel? Is that what that's for?
Yeah, so a lot of that is for outside counsel for our collective bargaining negotiations, and the administration, I think, and also working with counsel, made a decision to change who our outside counsel was with respect to collective bargaining, and so that is a big chunk of it, but not exclusively. The other piece that I would say is one of the things that we have done is to aggressively push back on unlawful incarceration cases, and one of the things that we found is that if you go back and listen to the jail calls from early in the incarceration, that is a very expensive process, but it has led us to be able to file a motion to dismiss in one case already and others going forward. So those are professional services. Those are the first 2 that are the highest. I would also say that we've hired a outside expert consultant on landfills to attempt to expedite the closure of landfills in the city of Cleveland.
And Mr. Chairman, to the law director, we've hired outside counsel to get people out of jail, correct? Is that what you were saying?
No, no. So there are different pieces to that. So let me separate things out. We've hired outside experts to review the jail calls of prisoners who claim that they were unlawfully incarcerated. And one of the things that we found is that when we go back, we found in one particular case that the formerly incarcerated individual was making up stories and was reaching out to witnesses to try to bolster his case.
Okay.
And so
All
as a
right.
result of that, we were able to file a motion to dismiss that case. And some of those cases are very hard because some of these arrests go back to the 1970s.
Okay.
So yes, that's been an important piece.
All right, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman Michael Valencia.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, my honorable colleagues. On page, I want to go back to professional services, page 139, contractual service. Where are the attorneys that have been retained to represent us for the Browns? Where does that show up?
I don't think it shows up on this budget yet because they would be in the 2025 budget, so it would not have been the 2024 budget.
Wait. We're
I'm sorry.
discussing the 25 budget.
My apologies.
Okay.
I misread. I would defer to the finance director about how that is accounted for.
Okay.
Ms. Gallagher?
Who can tell me where that's at?
Gallagher or Mr. Gentile?
Under what mystery rock is that? Please
Is
tell
that
me.
wrapped into the 4 million also? Professional services? Okay.
Yeah,
So-
through the chair to the councilman, it is in professional services.
Do we have an estimated amount, what that is going to cost us?
We do not. It's arguably a $1 billion project, and as you know, the Browns are demanding significant amounts of money from the city of Cleveland. And so we do not have an estimated amount at this time. I will tell you that they have been actually pretty good about only sending one attorney when needed to our meetings. And so, frankly, we've been pretty happy with the results so far.
Okay. So who have we retained?
Jo-
What law firm?
For the Browns case, Jones Day.
And so they're a part of the 4 million.
Through the chair, yes.
Okay. On page 140, under judgments, damages, and claims, I'm requesting for 2024, if you could provide to us what we paid out and to who of the 5.8 million.
Yeah,
Okay.
through the chair to the councilman, we have that, and we'll get that to you.
Okay, so you're estimating that we're going to be down another 300,000, hopefully less than that, but I want to make sure, I want to see what we paid out in 2024 and to who. Going back to page 141, under staffing levels, where, I understand where the assistant law directors are at, et cetera, et cetera. Where would the assistant law directors that are handling building and houses cases, where would they be? In what line item?
They would be in Assistant Director of Law 1, parentheses S.
So that would be part of the 30 staff?
Yes, so that reflects the increase of 2 ADLs for the coming year.
Okay, so then for this coming cycle, budget cycle, how many attorneys, assistant law directors, paralegals, staff would be working on building and housing cases?
I don't have that exact number in front of me, but I can get that to you.
Okay, I would request that. This is a major concern of those of us in council as it pertains to prosecution of individuals who are totally thumbing their nose at our existing housing code law, our existing housing laws in the city of Cleveland. I want to make sure that we have a full complement of attorneys, assistant law directors in housing court to be as aggressive as possible, because the mayor mentioned it this morning. We've all talked about it, the onslaught of the LLCs in our neighborhoods, the outside investors coming in who do not want to maintain anything. It's of great concern that I have in most of my ward, and I want to make sure that going into this budget cycle, building and housing and law can be as aggressive as possible. I want to say that again, as aggressive as possible dealing with these people who own property in our city and won't maintain it, or are jacking up the rents and won't maintain their property. So, so you're telling us right now, under professionals, under the 30, you're going to provide to us who specifically are working on building and housing court cases.
Through the chair to the councilman, yes, that increase of 2 is for building and housing. We've made an offer on one of those slots already, and we are interviewing for the other. But I also want to completely agree that this is a huge priority for the administration. And one of the things that we are seeing is that some of these defendants are doing everything they can to take us to federal court to make it as difficult as possible. And I do want to say thank you to Council President Griffin and Councilwoman Gray, because they've been instrumental in pushing forward the Chetrit properties on Shaker Boulevard with owners that are extremely difficult. We've also had a situation where the primary owner of an LLC of 14 properties on Southmoreland committed suicide, which was about 6 weeks ago. And that then has created yet another wrinkle, because then it's probably going to go, because of the death of that owner, that will make it even more complicated. So I want to say thank you to the support of this council for 2 additional code enforcement folks. The other thing that I would say is that our focus is on the LLCs. And one of the things that you'll see is fewer but bigger cases. So we are not going after grandma. We are not going after owners and residents in their own homes. We're going after the LLCs that are not keeping up their properties. And unfortunately, that also means that they have lawyers. And so, so we thank you for the extra 2 lawyers of support that you're giving us.
Yeah, well, obviously, it's a great concern to all of us here at the table. I just want to make sure that we are adequately staffed up to meet the challenge, because we hear so often that the people who are working on these cases are overworked and overburdened. I want to make sure this is a priority from a standpoint of the administration to be aggressive as possible. And so, Director, you're telling us at the table that you have the staff needed to aggressively enforce the law in the city of Cleveland.
I believe so. And
Okay.
if we find that we need more, we will come back.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. And just for clarification on Councilman Polensik's point, is that 2 in addition to what we gave to during reconciliation last year?
I believe that those are the reconciliation ones, I believe.
Okay, because I know that we gave 2 through reconciliation last year, so then it should be we're building up that whole case, but thank you. All right, Councilwoman Jenny Spencer, Councilman Anthony Harrison, Councilman Joseph Jones.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Pretty much Councilman Polensik stole my thunder. Those were the questions I was going to ask, so I'm glad he already asked them. And just a couple of follow-up questions through the chair related to the division of, is it called the Division of Code Enforcement or the Code Enforcement Section?
Code Enforcement Section.
Section, okay. And I really do appreciate working with Chief David Roberts and his team, and there's a lot going on. It's a very busy office, very busy place. So to follow up on Councilman Polensik's questions, wanted to clarify through the chair, I think we're all in total agreement that we need as much capacity as possible in code enforcement. Curious through the chair to know, is some of that related to an anticipated increase in building and housing capacity on the violation notice side, whether through, because we have a lot going on now too. We have vacant property registry, we have residents first, we have, local agent in charge. So in my mind, there's a lot more that could be taken to prosecution as a result of work product generated by building and housing. So I'm curious about the interplay between law and building and housing, and does this increase in positions anticipate that increased workflow? Through the chair.
Through the chair to the councilwoman, the answer is yes. So there are a variety of pieces to this. One is, yes, we meet every week with building and housing. So Sally Martin and I sit down with Dave Roberts, Colleen Majeski, Michelle Comer, to talk about what our priorities are going forward. And so we are absolutely looking at more code enforcement, but related to that also is more lead enforcement. And then I really want to talk, while I have everyone here, about nuisance enforcement, because we will probably be coming to you to request more teeth to our nuisance law, because, and thank you, Councilman Hairston. Councilman Jones is not here, but, we have a number of issues where public nuisance law could be tougher and more aggressive. We were able to use the nuisance law with thanks to Councilman McCormick to shut down the daiquiri bar, but we would like to do more of that as we try to be proactive with some of these areas that need to be shut down. And so, we have complaints about wards where people are putting wrecked autos out on the sidewalk. Using junkyards and that sort of thing. And we want to have a stronger nuisance law so that it doesn't take a year to shut some of these places down.
Thank you. And just one more question, Mr. Chair. Just interested in, under staffing levels, the increase at assistant prosecutor increasing from 14 to 15. What type of position is assistant prosecutor, through the chair?
Through the chair to the councilwoman, that is the same number. So I think we're actually authorized for 17 under the code, and I think it's simply that we had gaps that we've been hiring to fill. I believe currently we have one vacancy that we are hoping to fill. And let me just address Councilman Conwell, who talked about making sure we have a pipeline of diversity. And so we are trying to make sure that slot, we have an outstanding clerk in our prosecutor's office who is taking the bar soon. And we are hoping that she will fill that spot.
On that point, Councilman McCormick.
Thank you, Point. I just want to clarify. You said that there's only one vacancy in the prosecutor's office?
That is my understanding.
Okay, I just want to commend that because I think before Prosecutor Jordan came on, it was like half the office was empty. So I just want to commend her for beefing up the office.
If I may, people love working for Prosecutor Jordan. And so that's one of the reasons that she is amazing.
Thank you. Councilman Spencer? All right. Councilman Anthony Harrison and Councilman Joe Jones.
Yes, she's amazing. If I wasn't here, I'll go work with her. All right. She's amazing. Listen, she is top notch. I'm glad we got her over here to the city. Thank you for that. Just two things from me really quickly. Can we get a listing of all of the folks who are associated with each of the staffing levels that's in the booklet? So administrative officials, administrative support, paraprofessionals, professionals, non-EEO reporting. Can we get a listing of who those individuals are and their salaries like we received for the mayor's office and the other offices? Through the chair to the finance director?
Yeah, sure. Through the chair to the councilman, yes, we can get that.
Okay, thank you.
And through the chair to the councilman, last year we also provided you with telephone numbers and contact numbers for everyone in the law department. And so we will do that again as well because we want you to be able to pick up the phone and call somebody who can
Thank you.
address a problem.
And that was going to be my part two of that request, so thank you for that. And my last request, Mr. Chair, not really a request, but I'm glad you brought that up about the nuisance issue. I've been having only issues with problem places in my ward, and that was one of the items on my list. In addition to land bank approval reform, is to look at the nuisance law that has not been updated in quite some time. That really needs more teeth, right? These chump fines that we're charging after a certain amount of calls, certain things, it just is outdated. Right, you cannot use it, and it helps us in no way at all. And let's talk about that. Happy because let's talk about that and see how I can help you and how we figure that out along with other members of our body. That's it, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
Through the chair to the councilman, of course we have to respect due process, and yet it is frustrating. And when there are problems out there that we want to get quick court action, and we want to find ways to put teeth into our law so that respecting due process, we take care of our neighbors and we make sure that they live in a place without nuisances.
Thank you. And I see that Councilman Jones has stepped out. I want to just take a moment to thank all the law staff and also thank our own lawyers, Jennifer Heinert O'Leary as well as Rachel Scalish for working with your team. I think that's an area that you guys do a tremendous and abundant amount of work. So thank you so much on behalf of all of us, okay? We was trying to avoid my friend, but go ahead. We'll be here for another hour.
You know what? Quickly.
You got to walk it like you talk it or you lose that beat.
If you let me go. I love Jordan. She's an activist. She is good. But give me some more people of color in there also. I know she said it's only 4% to the chair for African Americans, but you got to get it in there because they understand our issues and concerns in Huff, Glenville, Collinwood community. You've got to get us some more African American lawyers. There's in the prosecutors.
Through the chair to the councilman, absolutely, it's heard. I am proud of our outreach for excellence above all, and it's no secret that we have hired Delonte Spencer Thomas, who's the president of the African American Bar Association here in Cleveland, because we care about representation and we care about excellence.
All right, thank you all. We're going to adjourn for today. Tomorrow, the dean, Mike Polinsik, has the gavel, but I'm asking everybody to be here at 9 o'clock sharp.
And make sure that the
And if we
appropriate
could,
department heads are
please
here.
make sure that the department heads are here in case there's anything that comes up, okay? And then once again, please convene tomorrow if everybody could be here, especially the safety committee at 9 o'clock sharp. Thank you.